My name is Barry Ragsdale, and I'm a teacher at Spring Garden School. And this is Stephanie Stewart. She's a teacher leader here at Cherokee County School Systems. And today I'm going to be interviewing Ms. Stewart and asking her a few questions concerning her job and her role as a curriculum specialist. So, first question I have for you is, how do you maintain an integrated curriculum both horizontally and vertically aligned that engages all students?
Horizontally, I would say, for the past 2 years, we participated in a grant for our system, and we were able to, it benefited me because horizontally, when you're in a school like us, when you're kind of small, you may be the only teacher that's teaching, 6th grade math or 7th grade math. So when you're trying to horizontally align your curriculum, it's kind of very difficult because you don't know, are you teaching this concept at the same time the other teacher is teaching it? So we got together last couple years and we kind of looked at when I was teaching a concept, did that match up with how the other 6th grade or 7th grade math teachers were teaching that in the county. So to set kind of a common pacing guide, that's helpful because during this 9 weeks you'll cover the same material as the other grade that might teach that same concept. So that lets you know that all your teachers are teaching the same standard at the same time. Now that doesn't take their creativity away. They can teach it how they feel is good for their students, but at least they're covering that standard at the same time. Vertically is easy to do within your school because you can say make sure each teacher is teaching this standard to fidelity, make sure they're covering that, because you don't want one teacher teaching a concept in 6th grade that should be covered in 5th grade. Now that doesn't, you have to take into account, you still got to review some things, but that should be embedded during that time. It's not a whole, 7th grade is not going to go back and cover adding and subtracting fractions for a whole month. That should have been covered in 4th or 5th grade. So kind of vertically is good, to do within your system, but when you're in a small school, you have to kind of branch out to the other school systems.
I know one thing is being in a small school, it's hard for us to do is have a PLC.
Yes.
As far as like for you with another 6th grade teacher, or it's hard to group. We have to do that more on a countywide. And so do you see the PLCs on a countywide scale being beneficial to help?
Yes, because that's what we had gotten a grant to do for just math teachers the past 2 years. And there was only certain ones that even got to go the money-wise. So just having time to do that is very helpful because now when I know the teacher, that 6th grade teacher in San Rock's teaching the same standard as the 6th grade teacher in Center or the same teacher in Spring Garden.
Right.
So we're all covering the same standards.
All right. Question 2 for you is how do you lead and motivate? And that's a big thing. Motivate. How do you lead and motivate teachers to adhere to the prescribed standards?
Well, I think it's important to assess what you're teaching with because if you're using a textbook, you want to make sure that textbook covers the standards because we know sometimes there's things in that textbook that needs to be taught and sometimes there's some things that need to be left out because they're not in your course of study.
Right.
So I think it's important just to make sure all the teachers are teaching what they're supposed to, going back to the standard and not just teaching from chapter 1 to chapter 10 in that textbook, making sure that they're covering the standard, as far as material goes.
Right. And then question 3 has to do with how do you assess instructional programs, activities, and material?
I think that just kind of goes back to question 2, make sure they adhere to the state standards. If you have an activity that you want to do, just because it's Halloween and you love this Halloween activity, does it cover the standard you're teaching?
Right.
There's a lot of things I like to do for fun, but I thought, well, does it really teach what I'm trying to teach?
Like wrapping somebody in toilet paper?
Yes.
For history doesn't really teach them anything about modification.
Right.
So, and so here's a big question. Number 4, question 4 says, how do you use diagnostic tools to assess, identify, and support instructional improvement?
As far as diagnostic goes, I think you have to go back to, new state assessments for sure, like Scantron. You can kind of look at which students, are struggling in the material that you're looking for. We use STAR as far as benchmarks go, beginning, middle, and ending also. And everyday assessing, I like our math teachers use like IXL recommendations. It gives the kids what they need to work on. So going back to, vertically aligned, making sure you've got to review some things because kids, even though they're sitting in a 7th grade class, they may not know everything from 4th So using the diagnostic tools like iExcel, Khan Academy, the Mission, Prodigy, any ILP that's going to go back and let the kids remediate skills they need to work on as a teacher. You can't cover 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th grade skills all in 1 year, but you can give them time to go back and revisit concepts that they're, still not fluent at.
Right. And here's kind of a question that goes along with something you said, Scantron. Do you think the Scantron test, do you feel like it's a good measuring tool for what we do here in the county?
When you compare it to STAR, you see similar results, so I think it's valid. So Scantron, I think, still shows the same results as STAR when you have 2 tests that show the same results.
Yeah.
I feel pretty secure in, trusting those results
Right.
as far as the students.
And then question 5 says, how do you infuse technology in the classrooms, and how do you think it's impacting the curriculum?
I think as far as technology goes, as a teacher, if you're letting them work out of a textbook, I'm not sure that they understand what they're doing, but if I have them on a program and I can walk around, like, for example, maybe iExcel or maybe Khan Academy or whatever you're using that day, and you instantly know if that student knows and who's struggling. So you can pull 2 or 3 together that need some extra help right quick, and if I didn't have the technology to do that for me, it would be the next day until
Right.
I knew who had learned the concept or who needed extra help.
So you're saying the most beneficial thing with technology is the way we're using it, just be the instant results and data to
Yes.
better address student problems.
Yes, and that I like doing the ILPs, the individual learning plans for the kids. So
Mhm.
like whether you use Prodigy, you can use the Mission, you can use iExcel for those, but it goes back and it either helps kids fill in what they're missing, but those kids that I have kids that are in my 7th and 8th grade class that are already on 9th and 10th grade math level. No, they don't know everything, but for me to grow them, I have to push them, and technology is the best way to do that.
So if you're just using a textbook, everybody's on the same page.
Yes.
So of course, what do you hear about from teachers? What do you hear about complaints about technology? Of course, they're probably standard across the board.
Right,
Yeah,
and
so-
I think sometimes you feel like it's going to take more time to use the technology, but it actually saves you time. You put more time into planning, but less time into grading, less time into giving feedback, because the technology helps you do that.
Right.
So I mean, if you're just given problems, or you're taking those and looking over them, well, the technology can help you already group the students according to what they know. Now I still use textbook also, but I think it could be a good blend of,
Right.
Traditional and technology as well.
So kind of, I guess, going in with that last part of the question, talking about greatest difficulties of your position, just trying to get teachers to buy into, like, we're on technology right now. So what's the greatest difficulty to try to get teachers who may not be familiar with technology to get them to utilize technology?
I think when I first started, I was just nervous that if I messed up, it made me look bad as a teacher, or if I didn't know how to use the technology, it made me look like I didn't understand what I was doing. So I think just being okay with messing up in front of your students, and letting them know that everybody's gonna make mistakes on it. I mean, it's just a learning process. So you
Yeah.
kind of have a learning curve to start with, and then just, I think sometimes, like, I felt like it would take more time, but it actually saves me time, when you get used to using it, and not feeling like you have to use technology just for the sake of using technology.
Right.
Textbooks have their place, technology has their place, but I think there are some benefits.
And the last thing, what do you think the largest factors are that interfere with achieving goals and objectives, in relation to get teachers to follow through with curriculum?
I think just making sure that teachers take the time to plan towards teaching the standard, and making sure that what they're teaching covers that standard. I think that's probably the most important, and not having a lot of extra, just making sure that you're teaching the standard and does this activity, engage the students, and does it make them learn what you're trying to teach.
And you find, going into other teachers' classrooms, do you find that they welcome the support, or do you feel as going in and trying to help them out, some teachers kind of put up a wall?
I think sometimes we'll see both, but I think most teachers are open to the help. If you you're not there to really help them, you're there to help the students learn.
Yeah.
So if you kind of take it to that perspective, I think it's usually helpful.
Okay. Well, that was Stephanie Stewart, our teacher leader here at Spring Garden School for Cherokee County, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, appreciate it.